That was Prime Minister Mark Carney just before returning home from the G20 summit. While in Johannesburg, he announced Canada and India have agreed to launch negotiations towards a new trade agreement. Now, we had a lengthy meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday as both countries work to reset a strained relationship. Now, 2 years ago, Canada paused talks for a broader trade pact. It came after former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau alleged agents of the Indian government were involved in the assassination of Canadian Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Trade tensions with the U.S. and a change in leadership have led to a thaw in relations between the two countries. And Prime Minister Modi even invited Carney to India next year. That new diplomatic direction was just part of the discussion I had earlier today with India's High Commissioner to Canada, Dinesh Patnaik. Hi, High Commissioner. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Last month, you told my colleague Vashi Kapelos on Question Period that Canada is not yet a reliable energy supplier. So I'm wondering what's changed in the last 30 days that has led to India to agree to launch negotiations for a trade deal with Canada.
If you remember what I told Vasi, I said that it's not yet a reliable energy supplier, but it can be if we put the right framework in place. And what we are trying to do with Canada now is to put a right framework in place, a framework which allows both sides to be able to move things, logistics, trade, all the other things. Moving oil and gas takes a large amount of pipelines, road network, rail network, and all this we need to put in place. And what both the prime ministers have agreed to in South Africa is to be able to work towards a comprehensive economic partnership which takes into account all these issues to ensure that the bilateral trade between both sides, which is about 23 billion US dollars right now, to go up to 50 billion US dollars. And so that's the plan. The plan is for both sides to work together on a comprehensive economic partnership, which allows both sides to be able to put in place the right logistics, the right infrastructure, right legal structure, and the right free trade agreements to be able to achieve this.
So is there something that has significantly changed in that time when you had that discussion with my colleague to just the other day when they said that they can move forward? Or do you think that there's still a lot to be worked out here?
No, you see, given the fact that we are trying to achieve something which is very, very ambitious, we need to put in place the right infrastructure and the right legal and other structures to be able to achieve it. Now, we cannot just go from 0 to 100 on the same day. It has to be a work in progress where we work together on different issues. Now, we have all kinds of issues on which we can work together. Oil and gas, of course, is one. Renewable energy is another, including nuclear, which is a very big field. We have agri-foods, we have fertilizers, we have AI, quantum, mining, critical minerals, you name it. I mean, in everything, there is a lot we can do together. And we are putting in place the kind of structure that is needed to achieve that goal.
In that interview with Vashi, you had said that you don't want a supplier who's going to say, quote, okay, I'm going to supply you today, and then tomorrow to say, no, I have a problem with you. With that, in that context, last month, India did put a 30% tariff on Canadian yellow peas. In 2017, your country also had a 50% duty on pea imports. So are those the actions of a trading partner that Canada can really trust?
You have to understand one thing: when trading partners work together, you create the structure that makes you both reliable. And so the point is to work out a structure where short-term fluctuations can be handled by both sides. And this is exactly what both the prime ministers are putting in place.
But with respect, the fact that India did just impose increased tariffs on yellow peas, is that a good starting point for these negotiations? And do you think that that sends any kind of signal to Canada that India is a trusted partner?
You have to look at the context. Before 2023, we had a ban on import of peas and pulses. And after 23, we opened it up, and about 4.5 million tons of peas and pulses were sent to India. Now, India has a large farming community which is a sustenance farmers which depend on the production of pulses for their sustenance, not as a cash crop. And this is about 250 million people who are involved in the farming industry. Now, the farming industry this year has been troubled a lot by imports from across the world, not just Canada. It's Canada, Russia, Latin America. There's a whole lot of countries, Africa, from where pulses come into India. We are a large consumer of pulses. Now, the farming industry lobby is strong enough to ask for the fact that there is a huge price difference between the minimum support price that is given to farmers in India by the government and others, and the landed cost of the price of peas that are landing there. And so the 30% was to adjust for that. And this happened because we still don't have a treaty, an agreement between both sides to have tariff quotas or to regulate tariffs or to work out things that is needed. The farmer lobbies can create this smaller fluctuation, like the consumer lobby keeps prices down. The farmer lobbies want higher prices for farmers, for sustainable farmers. You have heard of farmer suicides in India. So in India, it's a very sensitive topic, and we have worked and we have discussed with Premier Scott Moore, with Premier Daniel Smith today. I'm in Alberta today, and they understand the compulsions, and we are trying to work out a long-term agreement where we can both make sure that between Canada and India, the fluctuations affect us less.
In a wider context, can you understand how some Canadians might be concerned around deepening trade with India? Because people may look at that issue with tariffs on peas, others look on the public safety issue because of the ongoing investigation and allegations of Indian diplomats being linked to homicides and extortions in Canada. What can you tell to Canadians to try and assuage some of the fears that they may have about deepening trade relations with India?
No, I tell them to look at the overall picture. Do diplomats actually do the kind of accusations that the Canadians have put out? Nobody does it. It doesn't happen. India doesn't do things like this. This is something which accusations are easy. I can sit and accuse anybody of anything. That's not what comes out of this. What comes out of it is, let's work together. If there are accusations, let's see how we can discuss. We have a dialogue. We try to put together things which makes people safe not only security wise, but food security, economic security, energy security, security of all kinds. And that is what we are having. We're not only having a dialogue on security on the streets, we are having a dialogue on food security, on energy security, on economic security, on AI, quantum. It's a overall relationship. Now, you look at the relationship between India and Canada. You have 2.8 million Indians in Canada. You have a vibrant education industry which is linked with India. You have vibrant diasporas which is linked with India. You have a bilateral trade which is substantial, about 23 billion, which we want to make up to 50 billion. Look at all this. Look at a country around the world which can offer you all this and having the same values as you. Democratic principles, freedom of press, rule of law. Where is the country that you can look? This is two countries which need to work together. We have no option in this regard. India and Canada have a foundational relationship which needs to work in such a manner that we can both do it together for the benefit of our peoples.
Canada has been very vocal about diversifying their trade away from the United States, especially in this uncertain time in that relationship. Are you at all concerned that that could change once the Trump administration is no longer in power?
See, what will happen in the future, I cannot predict right now. But the mood right now across the world, and it's not just Canada and US, but in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, everywhere. The whole idea is diversification of supply chains, because countries have realized that they cannot just depend on one source for all of their products. So you need to diversify. Diversification is not just a Canadian issue. It's an issue for every country in the world. And every country is trying to put in place legal frameworks, free trade agreements, bilateral agreements, diversification of supply chains to make sure that we are able to get the best from across the world. In fact, it is good for global trade, because global trade needs to be open and not closed down to having bilateral trade only between countries which have commonalities between them.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Indian High Commissioner to Canada, Dinesh Patnaik, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.